Joining us now is Victor Gao, Chair Professor at Soochow University. Victor, again, great to see you. Now, as Silkina just highlighted there, the conflict in Ukraine, global pandemic, rising inflation, the threat of a recession. Could this be the most difficult or strained G20 yet?
You are absolutely right. The world is on the brink of major escalations of one crisis after another, involving war or peace. And this is exactly why this summit meeting between Biden and President Xi Jinping of China is so important. And this also makes the G20 in Bali extraordinarily important, because I think it is exactly at this critical moment that a meeting between the leaders of the two largest economies in the world will make the G20 as well as its side meetings very relevant to the challenges mankind is faced with today. So let us give all the best wishes to President Biden of the United States and the Chinese President Xi Jinping for their first face-to-face meeting as the two heads of state of these two great countries. And whatever misgivings there might be, let's put them aside, and let us hope that this summit meeting can do something to steer the course of history in a better direction, in a safer direction, for the better future of mankind.
So there are some strong red lines between the two sides, though. How do you think Biden and Xi Jinping will come to this meeting and try and tease and massage these tensions? I mean, we'll admit the tensions are perhaps at its peak, as they ever have been, but the two sides, Biden and Xi, do share a long history together. Do you think they have the potential to try and negotiate these red lines that are quite different from both of them?
Indeed. I think China recently concluded the very successful 20th Party Congress, and China has never been as united as it is today, as a country, as a nation, as a party, as a military. And in the United States, the midterm election is more or less finished. The Democrats managed to keep control of the Senate, and the House, for example, is still a little bit up in the air. However, I think more people just take it for granted that the situation in the United States too will stabilize, hopefully. Therefore, this is the backdrop against which these two leaders will meet. And talking about the bilateral relations, I don't think China-US relations have been as bad as it is today for several decades. And there are all the tensions. I think from the Chinese perspective, China needs to emphasize to the United States that the only way to solve the Ukrainian war issue is through peace and diplomacy. Don't pour more fuel onto the fire. Enable Russia and Ukraine to start to talk with each other, to find a settlement in peaceful means, and this will be good for the Ukrainians as well as the Russians, and for mankind as a whole.
Now, President Joko Widodo will be hoping to manage these meetings to try and bridge the gap between all countries at this summit. But of course, the US has always been an important strategic partner for Indonesia. So has China, particularly because it's been such a good investor in the region. How do you think Widodo will navigate this relationship between the two superpowers?
First of all, I think all of us need to give a lot of credit to Indonesia for really managing to promote this G20 up to today. And all the indication seems to mean that this summit meeting will turn out to be a very important historical meeting. I think as far as China is concerned, Indonesia as well as the ASEAN organization itself are both very important. China is the largest trading nation for ASEAN as a whole, and China-Indonesian relations are very important. We are neighboring countries separated only by the South China Sea, and in Indonesia, we have the largest Chinese diaspora in the world, in Indonesia. Can you believe it? More than 8 million people. So it creates all the conditions for China and Indonesia to get along with each other, despite of our differences. And we not only need to treat each other as neighboring countries, but also as countries both in the developing world and emerging markets. And China can provide so much help and assistance to Indonesia. And the fact that the Bandung-Jakarta high-speed railway is now up and running in operation is a good indication that China does mean peace and stability and wants to assist countries like Indonesia to get upgraded in terms of connectivity and infrastructure and economic growth.
Victor Gao, Chair Professor of Soochow University, really appreciate your time.